We are back and ready to go for episode number 40. Episode 40 of the Shutdown Inning podcast. Steven Risotto here, along with Tyler Hall as always. Tyler, what's going on? How you doing? 40.
Hey, hey, everybody. Doing good, man. Number 40, we made it. Our first guest we had, Andrew Pasquini, he said we'd be at 100 before we know it. We're almost halfway there, man. Look at us go.
Half, not yet, not yet. We're almost to 50, but yeah, no, definitely excited to get to 40. It's been a really fun journey talking baseball. This show has kind of, been a really fun platform for I know myself to get some baseball analysis in. I know for you and just for us to kind of to do it together has been a lot of fun. So a lot more milestones to come. Um, Meanwhile, in the baseball world, not a lot has gone on, but I do want to mention you kind of teased it in one of our latter episodes that we did. You went to a Nevada baseball banquet. Tell us how it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, the Bobby Dolan dinner. We talked about it a little bit when we had Jake McKinley on, the head coach of the Wolfpack, and I got to go up and go to the dinner. It was a great time. Got to meet Hunter Pence before the dinner started and talk to him for just a little bit. Really, really cool guy. Hopefully, a lot of our listeners had a chance to meet him. He doesn't disappoint. Just an awesome dude. But the dinner was awesome. They had some great auction items out there for people to bid on. They even did a couple autographed Hunter Pence scooters in the live auction. And so that was really cool. And it was a great night to celebrate the Nevada Wolfpack baseball team. So got a shirt on to rep the pack. But yeah, it was a good time, man. And looking forward to catching some Wolfpack games. I know you're gonna catch the one in San Francisco this year, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to get out to that one and say hello to Jake and say, "Hey, I'm Tyler's friend." You guys told me about the time where you jumped out of the plane. The one so
Yeah, one of the live auction items was getting the skydive with Jake, and it went for like a few $1,000s.
wow, so lucky person there. I bet it was Hunter. No.
Right.
Did you get a chance to talk to Hunter at all or just say hello or ask a question?
Yeah, I got to talk to him a little bit beforehand. They did kind of for the VIPs, you can kind of get in a little early, and so I got to talk to him for a little bit, take a picture. I asked him when he's going to open a Coral Sword in San Francisco. That's his, game and coffee shop that he has in Houston, and so just to kind of let him know that he's not just a baseball player. I appreciate all that he does, and so yeah, it was cool just to kind of to talk to him a little bit and then get out of the way so everyone else can have a chance to talk to him too.
Yeah, he's a very personable person, and I came across him last summer when he came to Pacifica for a beach cleanup, and I woke up at 7 a.m. It was cold as hell, but it was worth it because Hunter Pence and his wife Lexi were there and gave the community quite the full package when it came to being really cool at this time. So yeah, no, he's a
Yeah,
lot
and
of fun.
yeah, one thing I appreciate, not just with him, but with other, like when I walked up to like say hi and shake his hand, he's like, "Hi, I'm Hunter." It's like, well, yeah, no shit. But it's always cool when guys, well, they don't assume, obviously, you know who they are, but when they like introduce themselves to you, like they're just a normal person as well. It's really cool. So
Yeah. And is that something the whole team went to?
the whole baseball team in Nevada,
Yeah.
is that what you're asking?
Yeah, were they all
Yeah,
there?
the whole team was there. They'd come up in different, like they'd have the outfielders come up and all the outfielders would be on stage and like the captain of the outfield would talk about the group a little bit. So it's kind of introducing the fans to the team for the year, plus some fundraising. Hunter Pence did like probably about a 30 or 40 minute like sit down. It was more like a fireside chat where they had like a moderator kind of doing like a kind of a live interview thing, and he talked about all kinds of different stuff. His career coming up, through junior college and stuff like that. And I know before the dinner he went and had like a session with just the players and talked to the team a little bit. And Jake said that was a really powerful message that he gave to the team too. So it
Yeah.
was yeah, a
Really
good
cool.
time.
Maybe there's some Mario Kart involved in there and maybe something like that Jesse
Go Pack.
Pierce, who I mentioned in the last episode that I know a little bit. But anyhow, from college baseball to Major League Baseball, in case you're wondering, there have been some things that have happened, but not as much movement as you would think on the free agent market. We'll get to that in a second. But as you know, and I know we're kind of beating the same horn here, but we love talking about the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame results are in. They were just announced, and there are three new members that will be enshrined into Cooperstown this upcoming summer. Adrian Beltre got in, Todd Helton got in, and Joe Mauer just got in. There's maybe a little bit of a question with Helton and Mauer, especially Mauer. Mauer got what, 76%? I'll pull up the total in a second, but those three guys got in. Is there
Yeah.
any reaction to that?
I was surprised that Mauer was lower than Helton, to be honest. I thought Mauer would be the second highest vote getter. But not surprised that any of them got in. I think some people were surprised that Mauer got in on the first ballot. I wasn't. I think for me, one of the more surprising things was Billy Wagner missed by, I think it was 5 votes. It was like 5 or 6 votes that he missed by. So, these voters, taking guys off for no reason. I know Wagner was on at least 2 or 3 of those. So, if guys would have just kept their ballots, like, we don't want to beat the dead horse. We talked about it a little bit last week, but, you know, I feel like if, 5 votes shy this year, he's not off the ballot. He's still got at least one more year. So he should be a shoe-in for next year now.
No doubt. There's got to be five writers that are going to be on the ballot for the first time just to, that will have Billy Wagner on their new ballots. It's bound to happen. He's going to get in.
Yeah.
Statistically, one of the most dominant relievers ever. But I'm with you with Mauer and Helton. I think a lot of the discussion is about Mauer right now and about what that means for future elections and, not just the catching position. And you and I have talked about Buster and Yachty and maybe what that opens the door to, but also maybe it makes the way for some of the more like guys that had peak careers, or who had big peaks in their career, I should say. And maybe not much of the compiling stats. So, we'll see. I mean, it is interesting in going down the list here. I mentioned Beltre got in. He got in with 95.1%. So there's a lot of people that are not a lot, but a few people that did not vote Beltre, which again, to
Yeah.
each their own. But Gary Sheffield fell off the ballot. He would have been on mine, 63.9%. Andrew Jones is trending pretty quickly. He's on that was his seventh year on the ballot. He's got 3 more years left. He's at 61.6. Beltran, 57.1. And then there's a big drop off. A-Rod and Manny's still hovering in the low 30s. And Chase Utley, I was a little surprised to see him get 28.8%. I would have, yeah, I know.
I think that's higher than Jeff Kent ever got.
I think so too. I think Kent like almost like was holding on for dear life his first year on the ballot.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is there. But we had a good discussion on that last week, so we don't need to enter that debate again. But yeah, there was a huge drop off. Jones and Beltran over 50%, and then that huge drop off. I think Jones and Beltran are probably on the track to get in eventually now with how those numbers were. I think you said Jones was at like 67%. So I think he'll get in eventually with 3 more years to go. And then, of course, really quick, Gary Sheffield, his 10th year. Where'd he end up, Steven? Like high 50s?
Yeah, he was 63.9. So
So hopefully someday a veterans committee will put him in alongside, Bonds, Clemens, and the like, because they should be. But
yeah. And we do want to mention, we
yeah,
do want to shout
it's
out Andrew Pasquini, right? His guy. Andrew Pasquini, our
oh
first
yeah,
ever
where'd
guest on
K-Rod
the
end up?
show. K-Rod ended up at 7.8%. 30 votes for K-Rod.
Yeah. So Andrew and 29 other people.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, we talk about it enough. We should talk about who got in. And so obviously congratulations to Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer going into Cooperstown with Jim Leland this summer.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. And did you get a chance to see the videos of all three of the phone calls? Because that's my favorite part of about the entire day. And all three of them had like similar but also very different reactions. Like Beltray kind of like there's a sense of like maybe expected, like he was kind of playing jokes, like, am I gonna answer it? Am I not? Maurer was just like, thank you, I really appreciate it. And then like Todd Helton was like, so
Yeah.
so it was funny. All the reactions were pretty funny.
You know what I want them to do is one, because obviously those guys know they get in because they say like get there, we'll have you get your family around you, and there's a camera crew. What if they like do that for someone who ends up at like 67%? Like, oh, you might get the call, you might not. But obviously they know they're getting in already if they got the crew there. One thing I did notice too, and we'll talk about this guy again later. Did you notice anyone who was in the background of the Adrian Beltre video?
Ooh, I didn't. I didn't. Who was in the background?
Scott Boras.
Oh, okay. So he's got to be there for every big moment in his client's life. Nice tease,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't see Scott Boras in the background, but maybe that's what he's doing. He's spending too much time at Beltre's
Yeah,
casino.
instead of closing some deals. But yeah, it's just like if for I get it, you know, he was probably his representative for at least most of his career, but it's just like, geez, this guy just any chance he can take to get in front of a camera, he's there.
That's really funny. I didn't even notice that. But no, yeah, really cool moment. And to add on to your point about like what if a guy does not get that call, but he's got everybody around him. Like Billy Wagner probably had some cameras around. Um,
Yeah.
and they were probably recording him and he just sat there and the phone the phone never rang, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
maybe it does ring to say like, "Hey, I'm here to let you know that you didn't get in." Like that would
Yeah,
be,
they call every guy on the ballot. They're like, Mark Burley, this is, you know,
"Hey, Bartolo, just want to let you Brandon Phillips, you got one vote." By the way, who voted for Brandon Phillips?
probably someone who covered the Reds.
Hundreds and hundreds of people disagreed with one person on that one.
Yeah.
So
Like what is one vote? Like 0.25%?
something, yeah, he got let's see, he got 0.3%. And Adrian Gonzalez got 3 votes, Matt Holliday 4 votes, Bartolo 5, Victor Martinez 6, Bautista 6, and then those are the guys that fell off the ballot. So James
Yeah.
Shields, Jose Reyes got none.
Yeah. And then, of course, we kind of talked about it when we talked the ballot an episode or two ago, but David Wright did hang on the ballot. I think he ended up like 7.5% or so. So, like we talked about, those New York voters are going to keep him on for probably 10 years.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I look back at his career. It's a little bit better than I thought it was, but there's still just not enough there in terms of longevity. But he's one of those peak guys that could benefit from Joe Mauer getting in. You never know. So,
yeah.
um, anyhow, that's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with it. And real quick, I don't know if you saw the names that like might be on there for next season. And basically the two big ones are Sabathia and Ichiro. And are you there on both of them? Because I'm a yes on
Oh,
both.
I think Ichiro will be 100%, if not very close. I mean, how is he not a Hall of Famer? I mean, if you add his Japanese hits to his hits here, I think he's over Pete Rose, and just a likable guy, great ambassador for the game. I think I would probably vote for Sabathia. I don't think he'll be a first ballot guy. Let's bookmark episode 40 next year. This time we can see if I'm right. I think he'll be above 50 next year. Probably get in like year 2 or 3, but I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely a yes on each row. And anybody who brings up like WRC plus or OPS plus, regarding each row, just it doesn't work for him. Like that's not the metric to use. It don't bring it up. Like I don't even want to bring up numbers when it comes to each row because I already know he's in, and I know that's a
Yeah.
lazy argument, but he's in. There's no other way to argue that he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, other
Yeah,
than common
anyone
sense.
who makes an argument, and they can make an argument of like why he doesn't stack up to other people, I guess. But like if you have an argument where your end case is Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, you're saying more about yourself than you are about Ichiro
Yeah,
Suzuki at that
yeah,
point.
you just need your head examined at that point. I mean, and
Yeah.
then Sabathia is different. Like Sabathia, like some of the ERA numbers are a little bit higher, but he ranks very favorably among like lefties in the history of the game, and I think that's significant. And also like his image, I think he was a very popular player. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, we'll bookmark this. We'll could pick it up when the official ballot's released, probably a few weeks before this time next year. So we'll definitely talk more about that. But in the meantime, there
Yeah.
were some free agency moves the last time that we were on here. The Yankees went ahead and added to their rotation by signing veteran right-hander Marcus Stroman to a 2-year, $37 million contract. There's a vesting option for 2026. Stroman, it seemed like he took a little bit of a pay cut. I think he could have gotten more years and more money guaranteed. But I think he wanted to be in New York too.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. I think I don't know. I feel like he's one of those guys where his highs are really high and his lows are really low. And so New York's a place where he better hope he's got more highs than lows, because otherwise he's going to hear about it from everybody in New York, the media, the fans. I mean, same goes for everybody who signs with the Mets or the Yankees. Feels like more so the Yankees, but that if you struggle, they come for you. But I've always been a fan of Stroman. He's a fun guy to watch pitch. He brings a lot of energy. Kind of one of those guys, probably a lot of our Giants fans listeners were hoping the Giants might make a run at, but he's going to be in the Bronx for at least 2 years now.
Yeah, I think he fit a little bit of like what the Giants maybe wanted to do with his ground ball rate. I just didn't think his stuff is that good. And ultimately, I think I would rather see Keaton win from a Giants standpoint, but that's neither here nor there. And also,
Yeah.
like Stroman's a guy who, the durability has been an issue in the past, and I think you brought it up. Like he's kind of a good fit for New York, and he's also that. Tell me if I'm wrong, because there's a few guys that are like this. He's also a guy where it's like the name on the jersey carries more weight than like the actual performance. Does that make sense? Like you think Marcus Stroman, you think ace, or you think very good, but like then you look at the baseball reference page and it's like, it's almost like the
Yeah.
name outplays the production. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can see that. It's also weird. He's never been a guy that's like anchored down in one spot for a long time. He seems like he's bounced around quite a bit over the last like 5 or 6 years. Um, and maybe that's because, the front offices are seeing that, he's not, more of the name recognition than the actual performance at times. And so maybe that's why he's getting a lot of these 1, 2 year deals to kind of bounce around a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably a three. But yeah, Yankees add to the rotation with him, and
Well, yeah,
then
the good part for the Yankees is they don't need him to be a one. They've got Garrett Cole, so
yeah,
there's no pressure on Stroman to be an ace in New York.
exactly. And I think that probably takes him out of the running for Snell from what the national reports have said. Um, who has not signed yet? Blake Snell, sign, please, so Tyler and I could talk about it. And then of course
Yeah.
down there in Houston, this is a pretty big deal. Josh Hader, like we had heard nothing, or at least I had heard nothing about his free agency for months. I forgot that he was a free agent. Like there's just no rumors surrounding him at all, but he agrees to a 5-year, $95 million contract with the Houston Astros, and they have like a bunch of closers now. Abreu is in there, Presley's in there. That's going to be a pretty good bullpen, but that's the largest present day value for a reliever in baseball history.
Yeah, Edwin Diaz, I think, signed for over 100 million last year with the Mets, but there's some deferred money in there, as there is with so many deals now. So the present day value of his deal was marked at like 92 or 93. So Hader becomes the, arguably the highest paid reliever of all time, and the Astros add another piece to kind of help anchor their bullpen and make their games a little shorter. And if he can stay healthy, I like that a lot for Houston, because they have a solid core already, and the rest of that division's kind of catching up with them. Obviously the world champion Rangers are in that division with them. Seattle's kind of always seems like they're on the cusp of fully breaking out, and so obviously Houston recognizes that, and they add one of the best bullpen pieces in the game. So.
Yeah, they can't get content. Like Houston, I could see Houston falling into a situation where that core that they has that core that they have keeps getting a little bit better. And
Mhm.
meanwhile, off seasons go by and they don't really add to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that they're kind
Yeah.
of, getting guys in there who could be there for a little bit. And Hader is one of the best relievers in the game on paper. He is shaky at times. There's times where he walks a lot of guys and gives himself a harder time than he needs to. There's times where he leaves the ball up. But overall, just statistically, again, kind of on the Billy Wagner track for Cooperstown. In a lot of ways, they're very similar. So Hader goes to Houston, and then Pittsburgh is signing another left-handed pitcher. And this is a funny deal because I've heard some comparisons between this deal and the Hader deal. So just imagine the Astros getting Hader for 5 years, 95, and then the Pirates getting another hard-throwing lefty in Chapman, Aroldis Chapman, 1 year, 10.5 million. It's like that tells you like the difference right now in relief pitching, that those guys are looked at as so far apart. financially speaking. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chapman probably has a lot more, probably higher in age, right? Like I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, and less
Chapman's
effective. Yeah.
Yeah, Chapman's 35. He's been a lot less effective in certain years recently. I think Hader's like right around 30. Yeah, he turns 30 in April. So, you can look at it as, in 5 years when Hader's deal is up, he might be due for only like a 1 year, $10.5 million deal. So, but yeah, I mean, it kind of shows. And man, it's crazy the roller coaster of a career that Chapman has had for a number of reasons on and off the field, to where, for a while he was the most electric arm in the game, and now he's going to go pitch in Pittsburgh for a year and elongate his career a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just think it's funny that, there are there's the only similarities is that they're hard throwing lefties, but um I think it's funny that one guy, I just like the difference in the contract. It's like so different. And it's almost like Houston could have gone and got Chapman for that price, and it would have been a pretty good deal because they have a good bullpen already. But a good deal for Pittsburgh. They're getting a guy who, maybe could be a little bit more comfortable in a spot and settle down. Because I remember in the postseason, Chapman was the guy that Bruce Bochy stayed away from the most. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see how those two contracts work out, especially Hader. And I know I combined the two. Anyhow, going up to the East Coast, or I guess staying on the East Coast. And by the way, Pittsburgh being in the National League Central always throws me off geographically because it seems like they should be in the East, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah, but what team in the East wouldn't be in the East if you put the Pirates in there?
That's a good question. I have to think about it. I mean, Atlanta, but they're on the East. They're
Yeah,
just
they're right
down.
on the East Coast. They're just southeast.
Yeah.
Florida too. I mean, part of it, geographically, they are pretty far east in Pittsburgh. But if you look at the other teams in the Central, they don't really have any far traveling to do to stay within their division. Cincinnati's very close to there. Milwaukee, Chicago, all very close to there as well. I'm missing a team that help me. Who did I not talk about?
St. Louis.
St. Louis is not that far either. So
Yeah.
obviously there's going to be, you would have loved growing up when I did then, because the Atlanta Braves were in the NL West for a long time.
Interesting. And I don't even know why I brought it up, but because divisions are losing relevancy. I mean, they probably lost a lot of relevancy in the last like 5 minutes at this point.
Yeah,
So,
especially with the more balanced schedule now. Like,
yep.
just call it American League, National League at this point. But yeah, I agree. But
Yeah. Do the Western Eastern Conference thing with the top 8 teams or whatever. I think that would be fun. But you don't want to lose the rivalries. I get it. Um,
yeah,
Joey Gallo, the all or nothing hitter, the guy that was kind of the poster boy for three true outcomes. He's going to the Nationals on a 1 year, $5 million deal. Um, the Nationals needed an outfielder, a left-handed hitting outfielder. They get one, and again, similar to a Chapman deal, where maybe it's going to give him a chance to play, get some significant playing time. He hit 177 last year in 111 games with the Minnesota Twins, was a still league average hitter despite that. Still has power, as we know, but Joey Gallo going to Washington.
yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, I just pulled up his baseball reference, and if you look at his 2021 season, he led the league in walks and strikeouts, and hit 38 home runs,
And won a
and hit a
gold
buck
glove.
99,
Yeah, won a gold glove
and
that
won a
year.
Gold Glove. Yeah, so I mean, it's just nuts how, it's how baseball's been going, the three true outcomes. Hopefully some of these rule changes, we've seen a little decline in that, probably not as much as I would have expected. But you know, it's crazy to think, a few years ago he was, one of the more feared hitters in baseball. He's hit 40 home runs a few times, and now he's, 1 year deal to 1 year deal, just trying to stick with teams. He's bounced around a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, and now he'll be playing for the Nationals.
Yes, best of
So I
luck
mean,
to Joey.
that's one. Yeah, best of luck in the nation's capital.
Exactly.
But
Uh, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
and from there, well, I mean, if it's not a shutdown inning without a signing by the Dodgers, they signed
Uh,
James Paxton to a 1 year, $11 million deal. I really like this deal for the Dodgers. I mean, not a lot of risk if he can bounce back to where he's been in the past and give be a 4/5 starter with how effective he can be. I think this is a really good signing for the Dodgers. It's kind of a good lottery ticket where if he doesn't pan out, they'll be okay, obviously. But if he does pan out, then they're just even scarier.
yeah, we just got like an extra 3,000 viewers on YouTube because we mentioned the Dodgers
Right.
and the SEO went up the roof. But no, yeah, and the funny thing about this deal is I don't know if you saw it, but we're talking about James Paxton, who really good pitcher when healthy, and they included like a bonus or whatever if he makes the opening day roster. That's how stacked the Dodgers are. There has to be a bonus for the guy to make the opening. Like he's not guaranteed a spot on this team. Like that's
Well,
if he makes the opening day roster, right?
yeah, and I think part of it too, I think he still might be recovering from whatever his last injury was, because I saw there's also another like a smaller bonus if he's activated by mid-April.
Ah,
So I think it might be depending on when he's ready and when he's able to join the team. So I think they plan on him being a part of the rotation. It's just a matter of when will he be ready, and he'll get bonused out accordingly. It'll probably be deferred until like 2045.
yeah, yeah, probably. And it's funny. I think it's funny because the Dodgers, they're like, yeah, the Giants, they have two guys and Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray that aren't getting back until midseason. Let's get one of those.
Yeah.
And they go. So when the Giants get guys back, Dodgers are gonna get James Paxton back, but he'll probably be back earlier, like you mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, not a shutdown inning without a Dodger move apparently this offseason. Um, this was a pretty big signing. We've been waiting to see where Rhys Hoskins was going to land, but he is going to sign with Milwaukee, a 2-year, $34 million deal to go play in with the Brewers. And I thought he was going to Chicago. Um, at least recently, I thought he was going to Chicago. I don't know where I had him on the Giants chat or big board, or if he was even on there. But the NorCal kid from Sacramento, your neck of the woods, he goes to Milwaukee.
Yeah. Sacktown's finest, Stingers up. Yeah, I thought Milwaukee was a pretty interesting location for him to land. 2-year deal. I was expecting him to sign a 1-year deal and kind of a go prove it that you're back from injury, and then maybe get like a 3, 4, 5-year deal next offseason, because he's on the other side of 30, on the Tyler side of 30, I guess we'll call it, Steven. So 2-year deal. By the time he hits free agency again, he'll be like 33. So what's it going to look like? Milwaukee can be kind of a hitter's park, though. That's why I liked your idea of like a 1-year deal with the Cubs. Go hit in Wrigley for a year, show you can put up some monster numbers. But one interesting thing about this one that I've seen is a lot of people are like, oh, well, that means they're out. The Brewers aren't going to trade uh, Burns or Adames, and it's just I don't see that necessarily. It's not like, oh, they signed Rhys Hoskins, that they're all in on winning. I mean, he's a good piece. If he's healthy, he's a great, he can be a strong hitter for you. But I don't think signing Rhys Hoskins is a sign that like, oh, we're all in. We're going for the championship. I don't know. What do you think that they're not definitely not trading? I still wouldn't be surprised if they don't, but do you think they're like out on trading those guys now?
Yeah, this was brought up with Carrie last night, but I think that I Carrie said that they're going to try and wait and see. I agree. I think that maybe they're going to wait and see how they get out of the gates in the early part of the season with Corbin Burns and Adames and that group, because the National League Central is not locked down by anybody. I don't think the Cubs
Yeah.
the Cubs, if anything, they got marginally better this offseason so far. They still have a chance to sign Bellinger and change some things. But I think it's not a lockdown division. And if Milwaukee thinks that they have a chance to succeed and they get off to a good start and they're, 10 games above 500 by the All-Star break, why not? Why not continue to go? But if they feel like they're a 500 team or a little bit below in the middle of the year or June or something, then Burns is going to get traded. I think that's what's going to happen. But no, I agree. It's not like Hoskins is the aircraft carrier that's going to get you over the edge. But I think it's funny that he got a very similar deal to what Michael Conforto got. Although
Yeah.
Conforto got 2 years. Um, I can't remember, but Hoskins is getting the 1 year with the opt out, and he missed all of last year. Conforto missed all
Uh,
of 2022, and he gets the 1 year and then an opt out after the first year too. So in that way, it's similar. I don't know any
oh,
other
so I didn't realize Hoskins' deal has an opt out.
after the first year. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Then yeah. So it's kind of like I was saying, I expected a 1 year. So yeah, if he can opt out, then I like it even more for Hoskins. And it still makes sense for the Brewers. Let's see what we can do. Like you said, see what we can do this year. And if we're tanking at the deadline, then we move Burns and maybe a Hoskins and an Adamas. So
yeah. Remember when the opt outs were reserved for like the long term, like the Pujols deals and the freaking
yeah.
Stanton deals, and now it's just like Shamanai is getting an opt out, and like
Uh,
everybody's getting an opt out.
Yeah, it was reserved for big free agents and anyone who signs with the Giants.
Yeah.
Those were the rules. And now it's everywhere.
Yeah, the Giants have changed the game. No. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of opt-outs after that first year, especially for guys that are entering the Tyler side of 30. Uh you did that, not me. It's gonna be a lot of opt-outs, I think, for some of those 2 or 3 year deals. Mitch Haniger too. Texas, back to Texas. They are pretty much replacing Aroldis Chapman with David Robertson on a 1 year 11 to
Yeah,
$12 million deal. Is that what it
yeah, they're
is?
not sure what the value is yet. They're saying it's in the 11 to 12 million dollar range. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like you said, it's kind of a replacement of Chapman. And I think when the offseason started, a lot of people thought Hader was a good fit for the Rangers. So I think they pivoted really quickly once Hader signed with the Astros. They went and got probably one of the next best arms available for a pen piece to kind of fill in their pen and solidify it. And Robertson, I mean, he's can be kind of whatever role you need him to fit in the bullpen. He's closed a little bit. He's set up. So however Bochy want, I'm gonna use Robbie in the closer role. He can mix and match and work his Bochy magic out of the pen with an extra bullet there with David Robertson now.
Yeah, David Robertson is one of the few guys in baseball left that has been playing the entirety of my baseball fandom. So, okay, I mean, he's still one of those guys that's like, I have a lot of David Robertson baseball cards, and like, I don't know, he's been around a lot, 38 years old, and he's still going. He's had a few injuries. He missed some time in recent years, but he's still going. He's still one of the more effective relievers in the game. So good on him.
Speaking of that, just kind of throw it back really quick to the Hall of Fame. You were talking about how like you have cards from Robertson when you were first starting. When I saw Mauer got like I was like, shit, is Joe Mauer younger than me? And he's like a year older than me. So it's almost time where there's going to be like Hall of Famers younger than me. And I think that's going to be like, oh man, because I'm about to be on the Tyler side of 40 at the end of this year.
Uh,
So But so yeah, it's just enjoy it while you can, man. That's all I'll say.
yeah. And Joe Mauer is the first guy ever elected to debut in the 21st century.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Beltre and Helton were probably late 90s, right?
Yeah, Beltre I think might have been 98 or 99, and then Helton had some years in the 90s too. But that's pretty interesting anecdote there, and I think he might be one of the youngest players ever elected. I know it's pretty hard to beat Koufax. Koufax was definitely the youngest, but um, getting elected at 40 is not something that usually happens a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely an interesting, weird culture shock type thing. Um, and our Giants fan listeners would be happy to hear about Joc Pederson landing a 1 year deal, 12.5 guaranteed, with the mutual option for 2025 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. All these guys live in Arizona, which is why I think the Diamondbacks are going to be a marquee place for free agents in the next, the coming years, especially now that they're good. Joc is going to go there. I think, honestly, any team that signed Joc is going to get good value out of a lefty DH. He's not that bad, despite what you may think. Like, I mean, there's some good offense there against righties, high OPS against righties, still power. But the fit wasn't in San Francisco anymore, but it is in Arizona now, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, he goes from that qualifying offer, like almost 20 million to his salary this year is actually 9.5, but that's 12 and a half guaranteed because if they buy if the option isn't picked up for 25, he gets a $3 million buyout. So on paper in this year he's making 9.5, but he's guaranteed 12.5 at least. So basically cutting his salary in half. I think he's gonna bring, like you said, a lot of good value to the Diamondbacks. I don't know how much of I think he's gonna make a lot of money on the youngsters on the card games in the clubhouse, and hopefully they can keep that in line a little better than they did here at Oracle. Uh, um, but yeah, and I agree with you 100% on Arizona being a good spot for some of these older guys over the next few years to sign with Arizona, stay at your offseason home all the time. And you'll be joining a young core. They'll be able to add deals like this for a while they're still have their young guys on these cheaper deals. So they're going to be able to make some of these nice little mid-tier signings to solidify their roster for a while.
Yeah, hell, you and I should move to Arizona. And the funny thing about Joc, real quick, the funny thing about Joc, before the Baggerly article came out about, that he was playing cards after losses, um, I saw it firsthand, but I did not think anything of it. Like it was one of those situations where like me probably being a young reporter, like not really knowing the ethics of a clubhouse. Um, I Tyler's bringing out the big jug of water again. It's one of the
I
best.
left my little water bottle downstairs, so I'm drinking out of the big one again today. Sorry, man.
I
But go
have
ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Um, Probably me being a young knight, like didn't think anything of it. But like if you were to tell me before that article came out, like who plays the most card games like in the clubhouse, I would have said Joc. I 100% would have said Joc. And then after the Baggerly article came out, I'm kind of put two and two together. But um I noticed it, but I just didn't think that it was a big deal. But it is a big deal apparently if you know, people are not happy. I don't know. The whole thing was weird, but it was something that I noticed after the fact, but I had always
Yeah.
noticed, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
um, weird thing, but good for Arizona. He's staying in the division. Um, all right, let's get to our three ups and three downs. So, since we don't like to be gloomy, gloomy on this show, except for when we had Barry Bloom on, great guy. Uh, Tyler, do you want to give us the downs first? Your downs?
Yes. Yeah, I got the three downs this week. And so number one, we're going to go just briefly back to the Hall of Fame talk. And we talked about it a little bit last week, the voters, the ones specifically who take guys off without having a. I'm just talking in general now. Like we talked about it for a minute. Beltre only got 95.1%. I'm not saying he should have been 100%. That seems a little low to me. And then, like we said, six guys who got under 5% got votes. And then there were even a couple who didn't get votes. But you have guys voting for players who they know weren't even going to stick on the ballot. And I don't know if I ever told you, I think my idea for holding voters accountable, it wouldn't hold them fully accountable, but it would be if you don't vote for a guy who finishes over 95%, or you vote for a guy who finishes under 5%, you like lose your vote for a year or two or something. Because obviously you're not taking your vote seriously. Because if you're not voting for a slam dunk guy, or you're voting for guys who obviously are not Hall of Famers, you're not taking your vote seriously, and you should have some repercussions to that.
Yeah, no,
What are your thoughts on that idea?
I like that idea a lot. And but the only thing is I would tighten it up a little bit because there are some guys that fall under the 5% that it's like, okay, you could, Jim Edmonds or something, and Jorge Posada fell off after the first year, Lance Berkman, those are guys that maybe you could make a case for. Um, but
So
like
maybe
for the
like
guy,
3%. So like
yeah,
97 and above or three and below.
yeah, like for the guy that voted for Brandon Phillips, like get him out.
Yeah.
Brandon Phillips, get him out. Adrian Gonzalez had three votes. That's disagreeing with 380 other people. I mean
Yeah.
that's like and I know that there's the whole thing. Well, it's my opinion, and you're right. You're entitled to your opinion. I agree. You're entitled to have your opinion, but your opinion could also be wrong in the majority. Okay, when it's
Yeah.
that big of a majority, your opinion not factually, but very close to factually, should be wrong. And the thing I know why they left
Yeah.
Beltre out. Like the reason, maybe some PED allegations, but I think the reason some people did not vote Beltre is because this little strategy the writers have. Well, let's give David Wright a shot so he could stay on the ballot. So let's not vote
Yeah.
Beltre, who I know is getting in, and that stuff happens in like general elections and government and stuff. But like the problem with that is like chances are if you're trying to vote for a guy that's fighting to stay on the ballot, chances are that guy's never going to get in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, David Wright,
Exactly.
if David Wright's fighting for his life with 6.5% of the vote or whatever he got, then like chances are, and you have to make that much of a case for him to give him a vote for to hold on for dear life, then there's he's not going to get in. It's just a waste of vote. You're there to vote for the people you think are in the Hall of Fame, not some strategy ballot. I don't know, but good point.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah, we've talked about how they need to do something and hold the voters accountable, and I just think that's one way they could do it. But anyway, enough of that. Hopefully they get their S together eventually. Down number two, I'm going to keep the city name off of it because it has nothing to do with the city anymore or the great fans of the organization. But down number two is the athletics organization, like rummaging for a home now that they've kind of put themselves in this weird, space of not knowing where they're going to play after this year. They've talked about playing at Oracle Park. They've talked about playing in Sacramento. Now I've seen ideas of them playing in like southern Utah for a few years. Um, and I still don't. They haven't even solidified their plans for Vegas yet. I mean, I know the move's been approved and whatnot, but there's no renderings that have been officially approved. They haven't broken ground. So, I mean, I could see this going even further than when they're expecting. I think they said they plan to be in Vegas by like 28. They got to get cooking on that if they want that to happen. And regardless, they need to figure out where the hell they're going to play for 2025 and beyond. And right now, they're basically like trying to find anyone or anywhere that will help them.
Yeah, I actually think Sacramento makes sense, but that's me saying that because I don't want them to play at Oracle. But yeah, no, it's a mess. It's a mess, and uh, literally today, Tyler, I just got the other half of my scholarship from the A's, who have been paying for my last 2 semesters of college. So I'm free to say anything. The money's secured, so um, uh,
The bag is secured.
the bag's secured. But yeah, no, it's a mess. I feel like, and we have a friend, Eric Nathanson, who has some ties to Las Vegas, is kind of in that general region. He says that he talks to people all the time from Vegas that say they don't want the A's. In Vegas, whether or not you think they deserve a team, if they do deserve a team, they deserve their own team, not some
Yeah.
random carryover team that, that they necessarily don't want. I think the lawmakers in Vegas want them, but I don't know what the general public thinks. But yeah, there's going to be a big gap, like you mentioned, of where they got to figure out how to, where to play. And I don't know where that's
Yeah.
going to be, but looking for AAA stadiums, like that to me is comical. Like it just shows like how far down the gutter the A's have gone to where it's like this is so unorganized and John Fisher is being welcomed on the scoreboard in Sacramento and Utah, and this is where we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, man. It'll be interesting because it seems like they don't know what they're doing. No one knows what they're actually going to do. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. They'll probably end up having like multiple homes even within the same year. So and that's going to suck for the players. That's who I feel worse for in all this is like all these guys who are going to be playing on the A's. They're not going to have like an actual home. They're going to be living in
Yeah.
hotel rooms or short-term lease apartments. So anyway, we'll see where that goes. But the A's organization down number two. Down number three, we teased him a little bit earlier. Scott Boras clients just clogging up this free agency. We got the three biggest names left on the market: Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, just taking their sweet time and holding it up. A lot of people, myself included, are not expecting them to sign anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are signing after camps are open.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. Jeff Passan had a report saying that a lot of those guys, it's going to be several more weeks possibly until they sign, which based on the way rumors are swirling and not enough news around them, I believe it. I believe it. And the thing about it is I feel like Snell and Montgomery should go first just because when you're a pitcher, you have to report earlier. You have to kind of you're on a little bit more of a more, tighter schedule than a guy like Bellinger who could show up, a little bit after camp starts and still have maybe some work against live pitching. Um, he's probably ramped up his hitting at this point in the offseason enough to where he could go in no problem. But for a pitcher, like you got to get there. And I feel like there's going to be a point where Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, I don't want to say that I don't want to use the term like sticking up to Scott Boras, but at some point you got to accept something, especially if your asking price
Yeah.
is so big. And if your asking price is so big, then um then I mean, there's you got to take a price that maybe you don't want, right? That's how, if
Yeah,
you're if you haven't
yeah.
gotten what you wanted, then you're never gonna get it.
Yeah, I think Snell's asking. I mean, from what we heard, Snell and Bellinger's asking prices are both pretty high. I think Snell's is probably it's still high, but probably closer to what he could get. Bellinger, I mean, we've talked about it at length. It's really hard to value this guy because he was DFA'd a year ago, had a great year in Chicago, still relatively young. So it's like, okay, like how long? I mean, we talked about it at the beginning when free agency opened up. There were like, the predictions out there, and there was some publication saying he's going to get like a 10 or 12-year deal, and others were saying like a 5-year deal. So just even just the range in predictions for Bellinger is ridiculous. So I think he will probably be the last to sign if I had to choose, because I think he's going to have a harder time finding someone to even get close to what he's asking for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know what the holdup for Chapman is. Like if you look at the third base market, and I talked to Kerry about this too, it's literally Justin Turner, Evan Longoria, Evan Longoria, Adam Babor shout out, and Gio Urshela. Those are three third basemen that like Matt Chapman doesn't need to sign this. He doesn't need them to sign to set his market, right? So I mean,
But then if you look at it the other way around, Chapman can kind of hold the teams who need a third baseman and say, okay, like you don't want to up your offer to me. Have fun with Gio Urshela playing third base for you next year instead.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very
So,
true. So,
so
yeah, definitely very
I mean,
interesting.
Bay Area Bob's been telling us that he's going to sign. He's nearing signing with the Giants like 4 times now. So who knows when Matt Chapman's going to really sign? But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, down number 3, Scott Boras and his big trio holding up a lot of news.
All hail to Bob. And shout out to Boris in the background of Beltre's phone call. Always having to see his face in there.
Yeah,
NorCal guy, by the way, Scott Boris. Elk Grove guy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Sacramento area.
And I just thought of when you were talking about like the short-term lease for maybe, the possibility for the Oakland A's and their players when they have to figure out a place to play. What if the Hall family becomes like a host family if they play in Sacramento?
Yeah, we got yeah, we'll have Tony Kemp in our guest room.
It took you a second. It took you a
Yeah,
second just
think
now
of
to
an
think of
A.
an ace player. That was so good. I saw like your head spinning for a second. You're like, gosh.
Someone give me a name, Tyler. Come on.
I was trying to think of the second baseman that just popped up on the top 10 right now, and I can't think of his name. Geloff, that's his name.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it's like, God, who am I going to use as an example here? That was great.
Yep.
I'm gonna clip
Oh,
that
good
off.
times, good times.
I'm gonna clip that off. All right, let's go to let's go to
We're losing
uh
Steven.
that was too good. That was hilarious. There's like literally a 0.2 second moment where you were like struggling to find a name, and I'm glad that Tony Kemp
Oh
came to
man.
mind. That was good.
There we
That was
go.
good. Speaking of the A's, the Oakland Ballers are the new. We talked about them. We had them on an up a little earlier in a past episode. They are a independent minor league team, and they're forming this spring, or I guess more this summer. And I think it's really cool to see the way that team is kind of coming about. There's social media posts every day about new players that are signing, guys that are kind of fresh out of college, a good chance for some players to play professionally. Maybe it's not the minor leagues, it's not the independent leagues, but it is a way to keep playing. And I think it's going to be a really cool environment. There's big league footprints all over the place with that organization. And one of the guys that we know very well, JT Snow, is going to be the new first base coach slash bench coach for the Oakland
Yep.
Ballers. And he is somebody that has been very vocal about wanting to get back into coaching. He actually, has mentioned that he has a lot of friends that are managing in the game. Like if you think about it, the managers in baseball today are JT Snow contemporaries. Like those guys played with him and against him.
Yeah.
Um, and just hasn't found a chance to land anywhere, but he's landing with the Ballers. So I'm really looking forward. I'm gonna head out to a few of those games hopefully, and maybe we should do a shutdown inning from the Baller Stadium. And
Yeah.
we got to go hit up a game. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see the creation of that team.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's awesome that, someone jumped in right away and knew that Oakland is a great baseball town and got an organization in there. No, obviously, A's fans deserve a major, or Oakland fans. I don't even want to call them A's fans anymore because it's the city of Oakland. They deserve a big league team. But it's good that they'll have some baseball in the region. Hopefully, they can support the ballers as I expect they will, and show that John Fisher's full of crap and that they can rally around a baseball team if they give them something to rally around.
Without a doubt. And
So
and yeah, it's gonna be something that I actually want to try and follow, like in terms of like, day-to-day stuff. I think that would be cool if, give me a chance to follow another team. That would be fun. Um, Anyhow, in other news, Adam Wainwright, who just retired from the St. Louis Cardinals, a three-time All-Star, 2006 World Series champion, ace for a long time in St. Louis. He retired, and now he is going to be a full-time Fox MLB analyst. So he will
for
be
Fox
doing
Sports, right, Steven?
Fox Sports, not any other Fox outlet, as I put on our agenda before we started. Um, he is not out there that much, but he he's going to be joining the MLB crew, and he's not going to be in the studio with that powerhouse team that they have of A-Rod, Poppy, and Jeter, which by the way is really good and getting better. He will be in the booth, so he will be doing some broadcasting in the booth, color commentating, and he's scheduled to get a full slate of regular season and postseason games for his first year of retirement. So I like Wainwright. I think he's a fun guy, but it's going to be interesting to see how he does in that role.
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of interesting that he has like a full slate right out of the gate. Obviously, he doesn't have any experience as a color commentator, but traditionally, former players have done pretty well in the role. Obviously, he's been in front of the media a lot, so he knows how to kind of handle himself. And I feel like a lot of the times, like starting pitchers end up being great color analysts because they're used to just hanging around for like 4 days, not pitching and just shooting the shit and talking about the game anyway. Shout out to Mike Krukow as example 1A. So yeah, this is really cool to see, a guy that we've watched pitch for so long. And now we'll be able to listen to him talk some baseball every weekend.
Yeah, and it's funny because when guys retire, usually they take a little time out and they do whatever they, didn't get to do. They catch up with family, they catch up with kids and everything. And but I feel like when you get into broadcasting this quick, it was part of the plan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it
Hmm.
was thought about when you were playing. If you get into it this quick, it was definitely thought about. Just like the guys that go into coaching like the year after they retire, like there's no way you just coincidentally got a call. Like you wanted to coach and you were thinking about it during your career. And I think that's the case for this one. And he was actually calling games last year towards the end in the postseason for MLB on Fox, apparently, with AJ Pierzynski. I think he called the American League Division Series or something, which is interesting.
Okay.
So he's gonna have a bigger slate of games here.
Adam
Um,
Wainwright, Hall of Famer or
no,
no?
I don't think
Okay,
he's a Hall
thank
of
you.
Famer. Yeah,
Yeah, me either.
just good pitcher, a great pitcher, but not a Hall of Famer. He got some
Yeah.
numbers there, and I think just because he reached some of the significant numbers doesn't mean his production matches. But anyhow, final thing I have here is Fan Fests are starting up again, and when Fan Fests start up again, it usually means that baseball's close to starting up again. I know some Fan Fests take place in the winter, but I think a few weeks ago I started seeing some clips of Cubs Fan Fest, and which is cool. I saw my guy Miles Mastroboni at that one, and cool to see the clips of Giants for the first time. They've done this before, way back when, but they're bringing back the caravan. So they've had a stop in Sacramento, Tyler's region. They are coming down to the South Bay in San Jose, actually, probably the day that this gets released. And then they will be in Napa. So they'll go back up north and then they'll finish off. Actually, they won't finish off. There will be broadcasters in Lucille finishing it off in San
And Giants
Francisco.
alum. There's
And
some
Giants
Giants
alum. Yeah.
alum. But yeah, no
Maybe,
current players because they'll be down in Scottsdale by then.
yeah, maybe I could cover the Giants alum one and we could see if we could get some guys to come on. That would be cool.
Hey, yeah, that'd
Uh,
be fun.
I feel like it's going to be a lot of the people that we know. Like I'm sure we'll run into Randy Wynn and Sean Estes and those guys, but um, that will be in the middle of spring training. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's always fun to see Fan Fest start. I mean, I like using just the Giants one as an example because that's the only Fan Fest I've been to. Like I've been in like every little nook and cranny that they'll let the public into at Oracle. And so like I don't go anymore just to like, oh, I want to see the clubhouse. I just it's cool to just to be around baseball right before, spring training starts and we're getting ready for a season. It just kind of is cool just to be around it. When they do it at the ballpark, it's just cool to be there, see the field, the scoreboard, the Coke bottle, all that stuff, and just be like, yep, it's coming. Kind of gets the juices going, and we know that it's coming up soon. So I'm always a big fan of FanFest. Obviously, every team more or less does it. So kind of just get the fans excited, get some engagement for their players with their fans, and it's kind of the kickoff, unofficial kickoff to the baseball season for a lot of organizations.
yeah, definitely. Really, really fun time of year. But and another fun time of year and a fun time of the day is when we shut it down. And we shut it down again, Tyler. That was one of the worst transitions of all time, but I'm gonna roll with it. We shut it down again.
We did, number 40 in the books. So thank you everybody for listening. But Steven, are you watching the Niners? I got my Niners hat on. Are we watching football this weekend?
We're gonna be watching football this weekend for sure. Sunday against the Detroit Lions should be a pretty good matchup, and we'll definitely
Yeah.
be keeping up with it. So go Niners to all of our Niner fans. Have fun out there. Be safe. It will not rain. Rain's not in the forecast. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, no rain. So we'll have a dry playing field and hopefully the Niners bring it home and they're playing in Vegas in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So no need to worry about no no need to worry about the balls that are wet. The I don't know where I'm going with that. No need to worry about any wet any wetness. No, any any.
No wet surfaces, no wet balls.
Thank
It's
you.
going to be a level playing field for everybody. And so we'll see who the best is come Sunday afternoon.
Yep, should be able to have a good time there. So hope everybody does a good job. What am I saying? Good job, Niners.
I hope both teams have fun. But
I hope
yeah, so like Steven was saying, everyone stay safe, enjoy the games, and hopefully next time we record, we'll have the Niners in the Super Bowl, and we'll have some more baseball news to talk about. So thank you
yeah.
everybody for listening.
Thank you everybody for listening. Like Tyler said, I hope we do get to see Scott Boras next episode because that means somebody. So, all right.
Yep.
See you later, everybody. Go ahead, follow us on Twitter at shutdown_inning. And then go check us out Spotify, YouTube, all that fun stuff.
Hit that
And we
subscribe button.
subscribe button, like button, give us a review. We've never said even on RizzoCast, I've never told anybody to leave a review, but every podcast I listen to, I hear leave us a review if you like it. So I guess now leave
Yeah.
us a review.
Yeah, if you feel like it. Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us how much you love Steven's transitions and talking about wet balls.
Yeah, I do want to shout out to Spencer, who's been giving us some great comments from Twitter. He's been like he's a
Yeah.
diehard listener, so we want to give a shout out to Spencer. He's doing an unbelievable listening job, and we definitely really appreciate Spencer. So
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Spencer. Always appreciate, seeing your feedback and you listening to all the podcasts. So
yeah.
thank you to Spencer and everyone else who listens and enjoys the show. And that's what's up.
Bye.